Thank you very much. Happy to share with you a bit about Volpara. Now, I have far more slides than I'm actually going to talk about, so I will let you know that we have on our little table over there all of the slides, including the ones I skip over, and a couple extra bonus point ones if you are really curious about things Volpara. But I have 15 minutes, so I'm going to do it pretty quickly. First of all, some investment highlights for you. We are a software company. We provide technology. And what we do is we save families from cancer by early detection and even prevention of cancer by determining who's at risk, identifying who needs to get genetic testing, and putting people on a personalized plan to either detect cancer early or even potentially avoid them getting cancer to begin with. Given that this is an investor conference, here is the obligatory set of numbers about our company. Again, I'll let you take a look at this in more detail. A couple things I'll point out. First of all, as I mentioned, we're a SaaS company. We've got really strong recurring revenue models, so 65% of our customers are multi-year contracts. We have no concentration risk in that we don't have a single customer that's driving a lot of that revenue. And as I mentioned, what drew me to Volpara, I have a nursing background, saving families from cancer. I worked in the electronic medical records space, so I have a lot of experience in software, but I've never seen a company so passionate about the purpose and connecting with our customers on this really, really important thing. 1 in 8 women get diagnosed with breast cancer at some point in their life, and the problem is that it's actually growing. And what really makes me sad is that it's growing in younger people, so people in their 30s and 40s are getting diagnosed with cancer more often than they had 10 years ago, and so this is an incredibly important problem that we're trying to address. I'm going to skip some of these slides, a bit about types of customers. We talk about elephants. We sell to some of the big organizations, and we estimate that we've gotten about 10%, maybe 12% market penetration in the United States, which is responsible for over 95% of our revenue. We are growing in Australia as well. I got another note this morning about another private provider putting Volpara software in place in Australia. And so we do have really nice, strong revenue growth, as you can see. We have contracted annual recurring revenue, as well as our ARR is measured when customers are fully deployed, and we've got really strong visibility about our future revenue. But as mentioned, I'm quite proud of this graph. I've been CEO for 1 year and 1 quarter, and so we went from spending revenue to getting them together to where I expect they need to be. So 3 quarters in a row of cash flow positive and looking good to continue. 12 million in the bank and not going down. Well, I'm going to skip over this. We've got a great partnership with Microsoft. We've won 2 awards with them. They're a great partner with us in AI, and I'll come on to that a little bit at the very end. But let me tell you a little bit more about why what we do matters and how it relates to breast cancer. So these are breasts. By the way, these are breasts as well. You can say Volpara showed you their breasts. Now, when you look at those breasts, the one on the left, A, that is a low-dense fatty breast. The one on the right, B, is a high-density breast. It's got a lot of fibroglandular tissue in it. The little circle is a cancer. And so in the fatty breast, the low-density breast, you can see it quite plainly. The one on the right, that's also cancer. You can't tell that it's cancer, and you can't tell it from a mammogram. You also can't tell if somebody has dense breasts by squeezing them. You can't tell by looking at them. You can only tell by a mammogram. And so what started our company was deep understanding of breast density and creating a proprietary patented algorithm to do a volumetric analysis and a very, very precise measurement of that breast density. And that's important because it both is a risk for cancer, a much higher risk of cancer if you have breast density, but it also hides the cancer. This is what one of our products looks like. I won't show you all of them. We've got 3 families of products, but that at the top is our breast density. This is a risk categorization. So I mentioned we can gather information about your family history. How old were you when you first had children? Your breast density. Are you Ashkenazi Jewish? Are you menopausal or not? All of these factors have an impact on the odds that you're going to get cancer. So we pull that together for the radiologist alongside the image. Also verify that this is a good quality image. Everything was positioned correctly, compressed correctly. The machinery was working right to help them make the right decision about what to do with this patient, as well as reporting back to the doctor quickly and efficiently. Now, breast density is put across 4 categories, A, B, C, and D. A, that's that fatty tissue where you can see that tumor really easily. My kids could have diagnosed it. D, that was the other one on the right where there was a lot of dense tissue. But most women actually sit in between B and C, right at the line. So this is a B, this is a C. A radiologist is going to look at these images, they're going to turn them, they're going to peer at them, they're going to try to figure out, all right, which of these needs to go on for further testing and which of these is going to get a report that says your mammogram was normal. You cannot tell the difference with the human eye between this B and this C. And that's where most women sit. So that's why Volpara is a necessary component in good quality care in mammography. As I mentioned, also most women, 90%, who carry a genetic predisposition to cancer are blissfully unaware, maybe not blissfully, but they are unaware. And so we also gather the information to figure out who ought to get genetic testing. We package it up, we send it to the genetic labs, and that's a revenue stream for us. We also are doing increasingly outreach and communication directly to patients. So we provide the ability for a patient to see their mammogram and to understand what does what does A mean, what does B mean, what does C mean, and even educating GPs. As I mentioned, we can figure out if this was a good quality image. Was the chest wall visible? Was the nipple in profile? Were we squeezing just right, not too hard, not too soft? By the way, you can overcompress, and if you overcompress, number 1, your image isn't that great, but number 2, the woman never wants to get a mammogram again. We save time, and that's why people actually pay for the software. You know, quality is really important, but what really matters to a lot of the radiologists and the doctors is, can I get home to my kids on time? So we look at things like how much time does it take for you to do all of the necessary work for passing your audit and being accredited to do mammograms. But the other thing that's really important, and this is from Virginia Mason, 37% reduction in inadequate images. Every time somebody does a mammogram and goes home and the radiologist is reading it and realizing it's not a good enough quality mammogram, they were moving around or it wasn't compressed right or the machinery wasn't tuned right, and they call the patient and say, come back. Of course the patient thinks, oh my God, I have cancer. And sometimes they think they have cancer for months because there is a global shortage of radiologists, so it's taking time to get people in. So this is actually extremely important to women to make sure that we do the best job when they're there and we don't scare them by bringing them back when maybe they were perfectly fine. So I mentioned we do more than breast cancer, so endometrial, ovarian, colorectal, pancreatic, lung, and we're entering into the cardiology space. We've got a new algorithm for identifying if somebody's at risk of heart disease. As a byproduct of looking at this image, we can see buildup of calcium in the breast arteries, and that is a marker that maybe, instead of just finding out, do I maybe have breast cancer, it may be that I need to go see the cardiologist. So that's something that we've developed with Microsoft. It's in the hands of researchers to go through the process before we can apply for FDA. And this is an area that's getting enormous attention in the United States. I'm not going to read all of these, but I will point out the FDA has made a ruling that every single woman getting a mammogram needs to be told which of these sides do they fit on. And one is not dense, and they go home and they're fine. One is dense, and it's recommended that they get an MRI or an ultrasound, remembering that most of them fit right in the middle. So very important for us, very good for our sales team. We've got a very healthy pipeline. And just 2 weeks ago, I was in the United States visiting with Microsoft, and Jill Martin, 10-time Emmy Award winner, newscaster, came forth, shocked me because I just heard it in the background with her story of cancer, tearfully talking about getting a normal mammogram with dense breasts. Turns out it wasn't a normal mammogram. She should have been sent on for further imaging. She found out because she got a genetic test that said you have a predisposition for cancer, you ought to get an MRI. She thought it was just to assure herself that everything was clear, and in fact she has cancer. So she came in with a strong, every woman needs to know their risk, which we do, Everyone needs to know if they have dense breasts, which we do. So really, really good attention for us, and really, really good for women to be empowered with better understanding of their bodies. So fabulous growth outlook for us, and that's really all I wanted to share about Volpara. Am I on time? Huh? Well, I can talk about more if you want.